Joe is an ugly ninja, just kidding. Joe is former ninja who escaped from his clan and wants to live peacefully with his family. But his son and wife are victimized, so he awakens his overpowers ninja skill to avenge them. The story starts with a man who is anxiously riding a train. He gets off and runs like mad, but a group of people who know his secret catch up with him. They fill the area with smoke, and the man fights back with incredible skill, taking on several foes at once. The enemies throw blades at him, so he draws his own blade to defend himself. The enemies then switch to metal needles called senbon, but the man has amazing reflexes and catches them with his teeth, spitting them back at his attackers. However, the man is outnumbered and overpowered. He is captured when a device grabs his neck, and he is dragged by a fearsome man. The wicked man slams the man to the ground and finishes him off with his sword. The enemies use a gadget to verify that their target is dead, and they leave. Meanwhile, a farmer named Joe is having a good time on his farm and goes back home to work on his motorcycle. He plays a game with his young son, Kyle, who tries to surprise him, and he tells the boy that he can see behind him. Joe's wife, Sarah, comes in and is shocked by how dirty Joe's face is. Kyle says that his mask is like the ones that the Oni wear, but they are evil people. Joe cautions him that the Oni might mistake him for one of them, but Kyle is confident that his dad will protect him if they ever show up. Joe jokes that he doesn't know if he can beat these imaginary creatures, but Sarah says that she will handle them for Kyle. Joe teases that he needs to finish fixing his motorcycle quickly. Later, a news report says that the man from before was killed, and Sarah is worried that it might have been the Oni. Kyle agrees that it was them, but it's time for him to go to sleep. The boy bids his mom good night, and Joe tells him that his birthday is coming soon. With Kyle sound asleep, Joe carefully checks the security cameras around his house. Sarah is troubled by the way the man was killed, and the fact that no one knows who he was. Joe tells her not to worry and assures her that they are safe in their isolated location. Sarah is especially afraid of someone called the Reaper, but Joe says that it can't be him, since he always worked solo. The story continues with a scene of how careful Joe is about concealing their identity, as he erases their fingerprints from a doorknob. The happy family goes on with their tranquil life as usual, and Joe tries his best to be a good father, as he makes his son smile. One night, the news reports that another person was killed by a mysterious group. This is one of several deaths that have happened lately, so a big investigation is launched to find out what is going on. On Kyle's birthday, the loving family has a nice barbecue. They all laugh and sing songs, and Kyle blows out the candles on his favorite kind of birthday cake. Kyle opens a gift and finds a video game, and Joe gives him a new helmet too. Joe likes this one better than the scary Oni mask, so Kyle says that he is not a bad guy anymore, he is a hero. Sarah says that she just likes seeing his normal face. They are very happy, so they all say how much they love each other. That night, Joe gets out of bed, but he tells his wife to stay there calmly. Joe goes downstairs, where everything looks fine. Suddenly, something shows up in the window and Joe is attacked. The attackers break in, but Joe fights off many of them skillfully. His amazing skill lets him take one of their weapons, and he uses his sword to kill many of these men. While he is killing one guy, Joe hears his son scream for him. The alert Joe acts right away. He stops an attacker who tries to block him and totally crushes this guy. Joe runs to find his family as he grabs something, but another attacker shoots 2 metal needles through his neck. The stubborn Joe does not let that stop him, so he crawls up the stairs. The terrible pain is too much for him, and we see a strange figure outside. Joe finally gets to the 2nd floor, where he sees that many attackers have been killed. But then Joe is horrified when he sees Kyle and Sarah's dead bodies on the floor. Shock fills Joe's body, and the evil-looking guy says that Joe's wife fought well. This monster stabs his blade through her neck, making Joe very angry, but he is stabbed in the back. Joe pulls the attacker as he tries to get to his family, but his body is too hurt to keep going. The attackers see that someone must have called the police as they hear sirens in the distance. The story goes on with a scene of how the leader checks that Joe is dead, and they leave just before the police get there. The police get to the scene and are shocked to see the slaughtered family. Sometime later, Joe, who seemed to be dead, wakes up. His first thoughts are of his dead family, and he throws up from the intense emotion in his body. The next time Joe wakes up, he is in a hospital, and the nurse quickly calls for a doctor. Joe only says his wife's name, and he faints again. Joe finally wakes up, and a doctor tells him that he came back to life after the coroner had already said they were dead. Joe doesn't care, and just wants to know about his wife and son. Sadly, he is told that they are gone. Outside, we see that two people have come to see him. They are Mike and Emma, and they are from the FBI. They need help with their investigation, so they ask him some questions about who the attackers might have been. Joe doesn't say anything, but Mike can see that he is very angry. This is probably the worst time to be asking him questions, so Mike just gives him his card. Mike tells Emma that it's just a guess, but he thinks that Joe knows who the attackers are. He decides that they will watch him in turns, and Emma is first. As she watches Joe on the roof, Joe remembers a moment ago when he was taken to say goodbye to his family. The nurse saw that he couldn't move Joe anymore, and it was because Joe stopped the wheelchair. Joe was furious and couldn't stand to get any closer to his dead family's bodies. Back on the roof, memories of his wife and son fill his mind, and Joe starts to snarl in anger. His anger gets to its peak, and he reaches for his wrist again. This time, he pulls out a metal needle. Joe stabs himself with it, and it does something weird to his body. Then, Joe is attacked by some assassins. He is still very angry, so he goes crazy and kills many of the attackers. Joe shows amazing strength and skill as he somehow takes over the fight. But that's not all, as Joe does some kind of magic and turns his body into black smoke. This move is very powerful, as it lets him kill many assassins in one moment. The story follows with a scene of how Emma has no idea what's happening, but Joe doesn't explain anything and knocks her out. The furious Joe then keeps on attacking and rips apart many more attackers. There are a lot of them, and Joe oddly shoots a sword at the elevator. We then see why he did that, as he uses a pole to protect himself and pushes all the other assassins into the elevator. Even though Joe is greatly outnumbered, it is obvious that the assassins are stuck with him and not the other way around. Joe stands over all their bodies as he gets to another floor, and he scares any other enemies. Mike wonders why Emma is not answering his call and is stunned when he sees many bodies. Joe is done nearby, and he meets the assassin leader. Memories come back to Joe's mind, so he attacks the leader with rage. This leader is clearly different from the others, as he fights well and even manages to put a device around Joe's neck. Joe quickly gets free, but the fight is still even. Joe finally uses his shadow skill again, and it lets him hit a powerful attack. Joe quickly does more hits, and the fight is over soon. Joe wants to know how they found him and his family, and how they knew it was him. The leader says with a sneer that Joe can change his look as much as he wants, but he will never get away from his destiny. Joe then surprises this guy and takes off his disguise. Joe doesn't say anything from here and just kills the leader. Joe then goes to see his family. He can barely stand to look, and he falls to his knees. Later, Joe goes back home and makes a hole in a wall. He takes out a box he had hidden, and we see that it has some things, including a mask. Joe looks at a picture that fills his mind with memories of his family again. We see his family home one last time before Joe sets it on fire. Joe watches as his once happy and calm life burns away, and he puts on the mask. The fire destroys every memory, but we see that Joe is still angry. The story continues with an explanation of a clan that has a secret technique, but the members of the clan are not allowed to share it with anyone else, no matter what. They serve the country of Japan. At one point, terrorist attacks become more severe and shake the world. Because of that, they leave Japan's jurisdiction and move to a stronger authority. They claim that this is for the sake of Japan's future. Anyone who opposes this decision will be eliminated. Then the scene shifts to show a man who finds his wife dead, but his son named Heigen is still alive, and it turns out that this is a dream of our MC, a widower who wants revenge. He is seen holding an ugly, disgusting ninja captive, who he had previously defeated. He is hung upside down on a rope. But suddenly, the widower faints. There is someone who calls the widower by the name Heigen. The weird old man asks why he doesn't use his disguise mode. The widower says that they managed to break through their masking system. The old man is surprised because he always meets him in a battered state. He asks if Heigen uses the secret technique, real consciousness. He advises Heigen not to use that technique again because it will take his life. The old man is shocked when he sees the wound on Heigen's back. he should have died from that wound. He thinks that it is either luck or maybe someone wants him to stay alive. The weird old man is a doctor. He says that even though Huygen is overpowering, healing still takes 5 to 6 days. After that, Huygen intends to hunt them all down by himself. Sometime later, the unfortunate widower wakes up alone without anyone accompanying him. He looks impatient to avenge himself. As he opened his bag, he remembered the business card that the FBI agent gave him at the hospital. Then Huygen went out and taught a lesson to the ugly, disgusting ninja. The ninja said that it was nothing to him. He was so strong, he didn't know if he was human or alien. Huygen kept beating him until morning, but the ugly ninja was still alive and laughed, saying that at that time, Huygen's wife was full of anger and hatred until the end of her life. Besides being ugly, this ninja was really a psychopath. Unable to bear the words of the ugly ninja, Huygen sent him to hell by using a lighter and burning the floor below him. The poor widower was consumed by revenge, and instantly the fire blazed and turned him into ashes. Meanwhile, at the FBI office, Mike was angry because he was kicked out of the investigation on the case that Joe experienced. The boss said that they couldn't do anything because they didn't know who the perpetrator was, and this was an order from their superiors. They were ordered to stop investigating the case, or they would be fired. Mike said that Emma had seen the incident when Joe was attacked by a group of assassins, but the senior told Mike to check again with Emma. Strangely, the red-haired girl also didn't want to continue the case, because they all seemed to be trying very hard to cover it all up, and there must be a mystery why they were trying to cover it up. So Emma chose to be relaxed. She then showed that Joe, Sarah, and Kyle, who had died, were aliases. Those names were not their real names, just like the previous victims. Mike, the black-bearded man, was confused by what was happening, and from here we know that Huygen is Joe's real name. Meanwhile, Huygen, who was packing, noticed a jewelry given by a woman. He then hurried to ride his old motorcycle to hunt down the perpetrators who killed his family. He searched everywhere, but he seemed to find no clues. He was annoyed until he rested at a bar. There, he saw the police acting like thugs. The fat cop then ordered Huygen to show his driver's license because he suspected that Huygen's motorcycle was stolen. Huygen ignored the fat cop, which made him angry, but with just one attack, the fat cop fell down with pleasure. The skinny cop then tried to defend his useless fat friend, but without touching him, Huygen could make the skinny cop fly. The old guard looked happy but sad because his bar was a mess. Feeling desperate, Huygen decided to contact Mike. Meanwhile, Mike scolded Emma, who was busy playing VR. In this era, technology was developing rapidly, thanks to a company named Euza. Mike then got a phone call from an unknown person who was definitely Huygen. Mike was shocked and immediately ordered Emma to track Huygen's location. Mike asked who Joe really was, because Joe Logan was a fake name. Suddenly, the poor widower smashed his phone, cutting off the signal. But Huygen called back and said this was Mike's last chance. Mike asked what he had to do. Huygen wanted them to meet somewhere, and Mike would choose the location. Meanwhile, Emma failed to track Huygen's location. The widower was very clever. After that, Huygen went to the place. On the way, we saw an advertisement for a technology company named Euza. They made all kinds of technology, from cradles to graves. Huygen went to the rooftop and observed the situation there. Meanwhile, Mike had been waiting for Huygen at the Chinese restaurant with its very talkative owner. Huygen then entered and quickly approached Mike's seat. Mike thought Huygen had died falling from the roof. As proof, Mike asked to see Huygen's face, but Huygen only showed Mike's business card. Mike was not satisfied with that. Huygen walked to the door until Mike stopped him. Then, Huygen seriously asked about a clue to the incident that befell his family. Mike would give it to him if Huygen was willing to cooperate. Huygen agreed, but Mike foolishly confidently pointed a gun at Huygen because he didn't want to work with him. Mike forced Huygen to tell the incident on the hospital roof at that time. But suddenly, an Aoza Eats courier came to pick up the order. Mike continued his question, but another Oza Eats courier came again. Mike then approached Huygen to hold him, but someone came in. Mike thought he was an Oza Eats courier and told him to leave. Unexpectedly, the man quickly attacked them. Luckily, Huygen was able to fend off his attack. The man used 2 sword weapons. Mike still tried to make himself useful even though he was a burden. Huygen unleashed his shadow technique that took the form of the god Ashura. Hagen fought the ninja like Zoro in Ashura mode. But the ninja apparently brought a friend, but they were just dust for our widower, until they both were knocked down and went to hell. Mike was surprised to see Hagen's ability, then asked again who he really was. He answered Peking Duck. What the heck? Mike asked where the real Joe was, then Hagen showed his Joe mask. Hagen admitted that he was a ninja, just like the ones who attacked him. Mike, the noob, was shocked and half scared to hear that. He seemed to pee in his pants. And suddenly they were showered with bullets from outside the cafe by mysterious people. In a matter of seconds, Hagen had disappeared and he was on the rooftop. Mike was amazed to see the ninja's weapon that managed to injure his armor. He thought that their technology couldn't possibly make that weapon. Then Mike and Hagen looked at the Auza ad in front of them. Does this have anything to do with Auza? Meanwhile, somewhere, someone named Zai reported that Hagen was still alive. Meanwhile, in the middle of nowhere, a crowd of people were seen dreaming of heaven so intensely that their blood splattered onto a 10th-rate Statue of Liberty knockoff. A useless bald man was seen terrified, pleading to God to stop the devil. But God didn't grant his prayer. A pair of giant hands attacked them until their car crashed and exploded. There was an ugly, disgusting man licking a cell phone-flavored ice cream. He said the woman in the photo was quite a catch. He then went to the ninja headquarters that looked more like a haunted house. The ugly man felt his job was very boring if he had to deal with those minions seriously. He spoke to a man in front of him named Master Yamaji. Yamaji informed him that a sword is a weapon without instinct. But according to this ugly dwarf, his way of picking up was outdated. Adhering to oaths or codes of ethics was not their style. He wondered if Yamaji was still smitten with that woman. For Yamaji, outcasts are no longer considered ninjas, but enemies to prevent the secret ninja techniques from being exposed. They all had to be eliminated. Higan was one of the elite ninjas with many fighting techniques in Japanese history. He was the most ferocious ninja among the ninjas. Although they had killed him before, he came back. According to them, Hagen used a forbidden technique that could only be used by senior ninjas. To find out, they had to be able to send him to hell, and they were preparing it. There was another way, according to the dwarf, that could make Hagen beg for mercy and then kick his butt. He remembered someone who could be relied on, the Angel of Death. Meanwhile, in a warehouse, a man in a white mask told Zai, the Angel of Death, that Zai had sent many of his former colleagues to hell. The ninja organization is now very corrupt. The only reason Zai is still hunting rogue ninjas is because he fears the organization. After all, they are just ninjas fighting to maintain their dignity. And that's why Zai failed to send Hagen to hell. Hagen has proven that ninjas with ancient beliefs will not lose to people like Zai. The rogue ninjas will not be afraid after knowing this. He will tell Zai, who taught him to use the sword. The man in the white mask then attacked Zai while reciting a poem. The swooping bird attack was so powerful. But Zai still held on and asked why he didn't avoid his secret technique again. Suddenly, he realized that Zai's sword was in his body. He surrendered and will wait for Zai in hell. Meanwhile, Master Yamaji has forbidden Zai to fight Hagen and does not intend to make them fight. At the FBI headquarters, Mike was angry because the case of the attack at the old man's shop had been closed. The FBI concluded that the shop was used for money laundering. This blonde man tried to calm Mike's emotions and told him to accept the decision. Then the senior FBI called Mike for a chat, telling him to stay focused on the task without interfering in the case. He suggested that Mike better think about retiring peacefully while fishing and enjoying whiskey. But Mike doesn't like fishing and prefers sack. This made the senior intend to send him good whiskey products and a fishing rod. With a suspicious face, Mike asked if the fishing rod was made by Auza. The senior then left without answering Mike's question. He gave an envelope containing a retirement letter for Mike. Meanwhile, somewhere, Hagen, who was making a sword, was reminded of his late wife and child whom he loved. His hands were shaking, then he took a breath as if he was about to do something serious. Not long after, Mike arrived there and was angry because Hagen had called him to a place that was as unclear as your future. Inside the warehouse, they discussed the weapon at the crime scene, made from a special alloy that only Auza had. The ninja who attacked them seemed to have a connection with Auza. Mike felt that Auza was a dangerous company because it made the FBI silent. Mike washed his hands, even though he almost died in the previous incident. Huygen felt it was nothing because they had sent his family to heaven. He would avenge them. Mike told him that he intended to arrest Huygen after Huygen had successfully avenged his revenge. He then burned his resignation letter because he was determined to protect the citizens from the criminals. Besides, he also didn't like fishing. For years of working, Mike had never dealt with strange ninjas. Huygen then gave Mike a drink as a sign that their alliance had been formed. Mike didn't expect this, but he had to repay those jerks. After drinking, Mike was surprised because it was not sake, but an energy drink. This poor widower indeed has a strange taste. When they were talking about Auza, suddenly the door opened and it turned out to be a Peking duck brought by Mike. In the evening, Mike was chatting with Emma, who was late to arrive there. It seems like Mike needs to teach Emma the definition of being late, but Emma didn't want to discuss it further because she had already gone to the trouble of coming here with her cool car. Mike wondered why Emma brought this trash. Suddenly, Emma pointed out that Mike's car was more fitting to be called trash. Then Huygen said that Emma's car was a vintage car made by the best designers in the 20th century. Emma was amazed to see Huygen, who understood so much about her old car. Huygen suddenly looked at Emma with a sharp gaze. Mike then told this useless ugly woman to shut up because they were going to discuss Auza. Emma invited them to get into the car. She showed the very futuristic interior of the car. The car was a large computer that she assembled herself, and all information about Auza had been collected in that old car. Auza is a multinational company that has many technology products. Its global market share is also high, so there is no country in this world without Auza support. But the growth of the company has raised many dark rumors, including journalists and organizations criticizing Auza experiencing mysterious deaths. One of them is the case of an ugly bald man who died mysteriously. He was a European politician who refused a cooperation offer from the Auza company. But now his successor is the opposite. He even attracts Auza to enter the country. And all those dark rumors are suspected to be related to ninjas. Mike felt dizzy facing the nightmare that was happening. Meanwhile, in a laboratory, the CEO of Auza was monitoring the development of reactor technology that could generate electricity in fantastic amounts. He is sure that this is the technology that will illuminate the future, and Auza will be the only best company. The world will be flooded with Auza technology products. After leaving the laboratory, Master Yamaji was waiting for him there. The CEO of Auza did not expect Yamaji to come here directly. He then handed over a photo, and the CEO of Auza said that it was a member of his team who was testing their latest weapon by making former ninjas as their experimental targets. And they still need a lot of data for that weapon. Yamaji suddenly stood up and said that Auza should not do such a thing again. On the other hand, Emma explained that if they wanted to find out about their actions and the ninjas, then going to Auza City would be a good first step. Surprisingly, Huygen pushed Mike, followed by a sword piercing Emma's junk car. Huygen then ordered Emma to immediately start her car. Meanwhile, the sword kept attacking relentlessly. With his inner eye, Huygen saw the position of the ninja attacking them, but stupidly, their junk car was hit by a truck. Huygen was the only one still conscious. He saw the ninja attacking them again, then he got out of the car and parried the ninja's attack. They crossed swords all the way to the rooftop of the building. The ninja quickly pulled out a magic rope weapon to attack Huygen, and Huygen once again turned into Ashura mode. It seems like he is a true fan of One Piece. That skill is very effective in making his enemies look like useless minions. The ninja fired a rocket from his mouth to attack Huygen, but this widower easily turned the situation around. He pulled out the device that was in the ninja's chest before dropping him down. Huygen was seen giving a signal to send to hell on that device, and the dwarf man smiled at that. Meanwhile, from afar, Huygen observed Mike and Emma, who were still unconscious because of the accident. Then suddenly, one of the cell phones belonging to the cell phone collector rang. From the cell phone, someone was heard saying that finally they could talk. The man had made sure that their conversation was not tapped by anyone, but he still refused to tell his name to Huygen. He told Huygen that Auza City was protected by various layers of security systems. Huygen would not succeed in breaking in if he was alone, and he intended to help Huygen. Huygen obviously did not trust this mysterious man. The man then said, Learning from others but not letting others learn from you. That is the true essence of ninja cunning. Huygen was shocked to hear that. The man said that he was like Huygen, a ninja who was exiled. He invited Huygen to meet him somewhere. Meanwhile, Mike, who had just regained consciousness, saw the scribbled picture of his daughter. He remembered that his wife had called him, but he ignored her, and when he finally picked up the phone, he got the news that his daughter had died. His wife was so disappointed with Mike, who was too focused on his work and neglected his family. Even if you guys are useless, please love your family. As he was daydreaming, Mike was startled to see Huygen, who suddenly appeared in front of the door like a ghost. Huygen told Mike that there was a mysterious man who offered him help. Mike was doubtful about that, but Huygen believed that he was a ninja who was exiled just like him. According to Emma, the mysterious man was right because the security system in Auza City was very tight like women's tights. Mike asked what if it was a trap. With a casual tone, Huygen answered that he would kill the mysterious man. But the problem was that they could not enter Auza City because Mike had been marked by the FBI. Emma suggested to give up, even though this useless girl was the one who proposed to go to the headquarters in that city. Mike was sure there must be a way to sneak into there. Emma then gave her latest discovery from the dark web community that had been observing Auza's movements. And she found the location of the admin of the community who claimed to be a former researcher there. Mike intended to go there alone because it was far away, but Emma did not want to let Mike take all the credit alone because if they succeeded, they could get the latest data of Auza that could be sold for millions of dollars. This useless gold digger was so excited when she heard about money. Huygen then left and told them to be careful. But before Huygen left, Mike asked if his late wife knew his true identity. But it turned out that Huygen's wife was also a ninja, and they had both violated the ninja code of ethics. Ninja must always release their emotions even to their comrades. But Huygen chose family, unlike this ugly guy who ignored his family. Meanwhile, at the Auza headquarters, the Auza CEO was meeting with the ninjas. He said that he was different from the ninjas. He only needed data, not fighting. The ugly dwarf then asked what he would do when Huygen showed up. The CEO answered that this was the function. He had a great secretary. He asked if anyone had any other ideas. But Asuka said that the city's defense was 100% impenetrable, so there was no need to worry. Meanwhile, Big D, or let's just call him Big Dump, said that if Huygen dared to mess with his haircut, he would die. The dwarf mocked Big Dump's hair, which made Yamaji angry because they were not serious. He felt that Huygen was a serious threat, and they had to know his secret technique. But not with his worthless FBI friend. He was not a problem for them. The Auza CEO then agreed with Yamaji. On the way, the CEO was very impatient waiting for Huygen's arrival because he really wanted to get data for their new weapon. Meanwhile, at the ninja headquarters, Yamaji told Zai that he didn't need to go anywhere because Yamaji would send someone else to take care of Huygen, and they would force Huygen to show his secret technique. Huygen, who was riding without a helmet, remembered his past. The ninjas had to obey the code of ethics. The ninjas had to release their emotions even to their comrades, and the ninjas had to prioritize the mission over their lives. Huygen, along with Zai and Mari, received their names and a secret technique that they could only keep for themselves. The leader was confident that the three of them could lead their village to a bright future because they were the three legendary ninjas light version. And the man next to the leader was Yamaji. They were very happy to get their names because it meant that their existence had been recognized. But Huygen reminded them to keep their secret techniques. Then they drank from a cup together as proof that they had been together and they would risk their lives for their mission. After that, they did missions like ninjas, moving and killing enemies quickly. But Mari was careless when she saw a woman with a child. The woman suddenly shot her. Huygen carried the wounded Mari away, leaving the mission. Mari, who had just regained consciousness, told Huygen to go, and then she grabbed a knife. But Huygen quickly caught the knife and hugged Mari. The John Wick beta version did not want to leave Mari alone, even if he had to break the ninja code of ethics. He said that since they first met, Huygen had broken the rules. Then Huygen and Mari slept together, but they were caught red-handed by Zai, and that past was what made Zai hate Huygen. Meanwhile, Mike and Emma were on their way to the dark web community admin named Jason Cardenas. On the other hand, Huygen was communicating with the mysterious man. The man said that Aoza City had a security system consisting of sensors throughout the inspection area. Anyone who did not have permission was forbidden to enter, otherwise they would shoot. And from the top, there was also an electromagnetic shield that made it impossible to enter from above. So the only way was to enter through the underground to the sensor control room. He had to be able to pass the security cameras, laser traps, and mercenaries guarding there. As much as possible, he had to avoid fighting for the mission to succeed. Then, the man would turn off the electricity to open the electromagnetic barrier for 5 seconds, because if it was more than that, the alarm would sound. So he only had a chance for 5 seconds. After nightfall, the mysterious man guided Huygen through the phone. Huygen ran and sneaked into the tightly guarded underground facility. He jumped around easily like a cockroach, but his sweat dripped and set off the alarm. The soldiers quickly shot at Huygen like cockroach hunters. Of course, Huygen easily defeated them. The mysterious man immediately turned off the electricity to open the barrier. But when he was about to pass the electromagnetic barrier, Zai suddenly blocked Huygen, and they looked at each other like old friends. Huygen says Mori is dead and asks if Yamaji ordered the hit so he knows who to get revenge on. Zai is tight-lipped, but tells Huygen there's no hiding place for him, and he'll eventually be killed for not betraying the ninja organization. Mike arrives at the address of the former Aoza researcher he's looking for. The place is a total dump, and there's no way someone who worked at a company like Aoza would live there. Mike starts to doubt if the guy ever worked at Aoza, but Emma tells him the guy wasn't well respected as a researcher and didn't contribute much to Aoza's development. However, if he's hiding in a crappy place like this, he must know something important. Mike is still skeptical, but since Emma thinks it's a good idea, he goes inside and finds the guy. Emma also tells Mike that the FBI is probably watching him because they're curious about this case. So to avoid being tracked, Mike is told not to contact Emma unless it's an emergency. Mike enters the abandoned gaming arena and finds a guy passed out drunk at a table. Mike sits down next to the guy, and when he wakes up, Mike tells him he knows his name is Jason Cardenas. Back in Aoza City, they realized there was a system error that caused the barrier to open for 5 seconds. But seeing Huygen run out as soon as the barrier opened, they think it was planned. They still don't know why the system malfunctioned, but it's possible Huygen had inside help in Aoza City. Yamaji says it's better to stick to the original plan because recklessly attacking Huygen is too dangerous. Dwarf Ninja has another plan. Let Huygen enter the city without hindrance. They have a lot of troops, so it doesn't matter what secret techniques Huygen has if he can be swarmed before he can use them. However, one of them disagrees because the damage caused would tarnish Aoza's reputation. But the CEO is excited to see an all-out brawl, so he says he'll take responsibility for the damage. The CEO suggests they direct Huygen to the test room. Meanwhile, Huygen is hiding in a tunnel when he gets word from a mysterious man that the executives are letting him enter the city without hindrance. They're doing this because they want to trap Huygen and then surround him with some of their best ninjas. He warns him not to be fooled, or he'll be slaughtered. The mysterious man tells Huygen that he should leave at 7 p.m. because there is a parade in the city that will serve as a diversion for their fight. Meanwhile, at Jason's place, he asks Mike if he intends to blackmail him by threatening to report him to Aoza. But Mike has no such intention. He just needs his help to conduct an investigation. So if Jason tells him what he knows, Mike will let him go and pretend they never met. However, Jason is more worried because Mike was able to find him. Because if Mike can find information about this place, it's only a matter of time before Aoza can find him too. Mike looks around the room and sees an old-school game console in the middle of the room, but he's not interested in the console, but rather what's underneath it. Mike asks Jason to move the console so he can see what's there. In Aoza City, the festival has just started, and Huygen is on his way to enter Aoza City. He is being watched by all the bigwigs of the organization who have already seen his arrival. As he enters the sewers, he is immediately attacked by a squad of ninjas. Meanwhile, Mike enters Jason's secret room, where he has set up a secret server room to hack. He sits down in his chair and grumbles about how he can bring down Aoza. On paper, he resigned voluntarily, but in reality, he was worked over by the company until he was forced to quit. Mike understands Jason's feelings but from the way he talks, it sounds like he was fired because of his bad personality. But the fact that he can go all out like this to get revenge on Auza shows that he's good at his job. Jason is very sure that Auza is not doing business properly, but no one believes him. That's why he's collecting their dirt to expose to the public. Because without enough evidence, people will think he's crazy. But Mike knows that Auza doesn't play it safe, so he believes Jason. Mike also wants to bring down Auza, so he asks Jason if he can hack their servers from here. Jason seems hesitant because Auza's security is no joke. If he hacks, they can be traced. But Mike assures him that he can protect Jason. On the other hand, Huygen is easily defeating the low-level ninja troops. He uses bombs to divert their attention and continues to run while killing other ninjas. He jumps over a group of ninjas and grabs one to use as a shield. Huygen then puts a bomb in the ninja's mouth and runs away before it explodes. Jason tries to hack their servers, but unfortunately, he is unable to disable all of their servers. Mike doesn't think that's a problem because the important thing is that they can get information from the servers. After Jason successfully accesses the server of Auza's engineering department, they find a research report from their latest experiment. But that's not what they're looking for, so they keep digging until they find the source code of the system. Still no use. Jason tries to find something else, but his access keeps getting blocked. Finally, he gives up on hacking the secret files and just peeks into the internal server, hoping to find a careless employee who has left a file. And sure enough, there is someone careless. They left a folder named Bound, which contains a list of aliases. Mike thinks it's used for the spies they have spread throughout the organization. As Mike looks at the list in more detail, he finds something that makes him wonder, because Emma's name is on the list. But he doesn't have time to think long. The alarm goes off. Auza finds out they are hacking, so Jason's access is blocked. Jason's security system also tells him that there are armed troops targeting them. Mike and Jason run to the server room. They hide under the table as Mike turns on his game console. That distracts the mercenaries, who immediately start shooting at them. While they are busy shooting, Mike and Jason escape in Mike's car and manage to escape before being shot. And the one who leaked their plan to Auza is definitely the FBI. That's why the mercenaries were sent to capture them both. On the other hand, Huygen is facing off against Auza's mercenaries. Unlike Mike, they are scared to see Huygen. Smoke grenades are thrown, obscuring the view. When the smoke clears, 3 mercenaries are nowhere to be seen. 3 others shoot blindly, but Huygen emerges from the smoke, stabbing them in the neck with precision. While Huygen fights, Mike and Jason try to escape from the pursuing mercenaries. Mike calls Emma, but she doesn't answer. The situation gets worse when their car is riddled with bullets. Jason can't go any faster because his car is old. Mike sticks his body out of the window, firing back to distract them. Jason sees a truck driving ahead and takes the initiative to ram it, hitting the mercenaries' car. One car is destroyed, but another is still chasing them. Mike tells Jason to slow down and take cover behind him. When the car gets close, Mike shoots the driver right in the head, killing him instantly. Jason cheers, but Mike reminds them there's still one more in the passenger seat. Mike shoots through the window, causing the car to swerve and crash. Back to Huygen, he walks over to 2 security guards who have just seen him defeat the ninja troops. Their pay isn't enough to handle this situation, and they choose to run away. Huygen enters the elevator, and as he ascends, flashes of memory about his family appear, reminding him of why he's doing all this. He arrives in a large room and is surrounded by giant robots. The Auza bigwigs are impressed that he made it this far, but his journey ends here. The CEO watches from his gym, and Yamaji from a helicopter circling the test site. Seeing Yamaji, Huygen immediately attacks him, but is hit by the ninja. His face is almost hit, but Huygen manages to dodge and counter-kick. Unfortunately, the ninja's armor is too strong, and his attacks have no effect. Huygen is tripped and thrown into the air, pummeled by Big Dumb's giant fist. The attack doesn't stop, and Huygen uses his secret technique to disappear. The ninjas think he's going to attack, but he throws a bomb at the window and uses a grappling hook to chase Yamaji. Before reaching the top, his rope is shot off. Huygen falls to the ground, becoming the center of attention. Huygen lies on the ground, contemplating his family for a moment. He accepts his fate, accepting the possibility of his death. However, not wanting to die in vain, he uses a secret technique that risks his own life. He pulls out a needle from his arm and stabs it into his body. However, at that moment, Dilly attacks him and throws him towards the other ninjas. As they prepare to counterattack, Hygen turns the tables and stabs one of the ninjas in the head. But their armor still protects them from fatal attacks. Hygen throws a smoke grenade to obscure their vision. With his increased speed, the ninjas are unable to see his movements. He continues to stab them, looking for weak points in their armor, but it seems that the armor is completely stab-proof. Hygen prepares to use another secret technique to penetrate the armor, but before he can complete his hand movements, he is stabbed in the chest with a spike. His condition worsens. He is beaten and kicked by the dwarf and thrown like a ball until he is almost immobile. Just when all seems lost, Zai appears and approaches Hygen, who is still trying to fight back despite being helpless. He can only throw weak punches. Zai grabs Hygen by the hair and declares that it is time to finish it all. He draws his sword and raises it high, ready to behead Hygen. Hygen is resigned and does not want to fight anymore. However, just as Zai's sword is about to strike, a pink-clad female ninja arrives and saves Hygen. No one can believe what just happened. Before the other ninjas can attack the pink ninja, their suits are disabled by an EMP device that the pink ninja had previously installed. The pink ninja immediately takes Hygen away by jumping off the building while throwing a bomb at Zai to stop him. On the other hand, we see Jason carrying the bullet-wounded Mike to safety. We don't know how serious his injuries are yet. And as for Hygen, he is still half-conscious and only now realizing what has just happened. Although he survived thanks to this unknown ninja, what will he do now that he has failed to get revenge? After Hygen made a break for it, Zai and another member of the organization were left scratching their heads, wondering why that girl helped Hygen escape. Then the little ninja told them to chill because the chase was already on. Meanwhile in the city, some peeps got a voice message that Hygen had flown the coop from the org's base, ordering them to find Hygen and whoever is with him. Somewhere else, Hygen, who's under medical care in a water tank, is told to keep still because he needs time to fully recover with this dope nanotech machine. The person with him pulls off their robot mask, and surprise, it's Emma. Hygen asks her if she's doing all this to get close to him, and Emma says she's on a mission from the org's leader. Hygen had died and come back to life thanks to some secret art they don't know about, and the org's leader sent her to uncover the truth behind Hygen's resurrection. The leader believes Hygen can come back to life again and again and wants to secure his technique, since Hygen uses this secret art in battle. So Emma's job is to watch him like a hawk and figure out how his technique ticks. Emma apologizes for going incognito as an FBI agent, and when Hygen asks if Mike knows her real identity, she says Mike's in the dark. She then reveals she's got another persona and changes her voice, explaining it's the voice of the mysterious guy who helped Hygen before to get back at the org. The girl tells Hygen that if he faces off against the top brass again, he's gonna die because their combat suits are super advanced, making Hygen's secret techniques useless. But no worries, there's still hope. She opens a box and shows a mask, saying the power of this mask can totally take them down. Switching to Yamaji, his assistant reports that a prototype combat suit has been stolen. Yamaji stays chill, saying it's not a big deal. He gets another update that zones D and C are secure. Back to Emma, who's sitting at her computer chatting. She explains to Hygen about the Kamui suit, a high-quality ninja suit that's perfect for all ninja moves. This suit combines 600 years of ninja history with the latest technology. Hygen immediately asks what if their organization finds them. Meanwhile, the organization's spies are busy searching the city, telling Yamaji that other areas are also clear. We see a scene with Mike just waking up from a coma. Jason scolds Mike for not protecting him properly. Confused, Mike gets up and asks who treated him. Jason says a doctor friend took care of him without asking questions, but it cost a lot. They sit down, and Jason tells Mike that organization members usually don't show up at this time, so they're safe. Mike says he's being chased by the federal prep office, and he's sure they've been tracking him even before he left the city. Mike tells Jason he needs to stay close to Emma to uncover the organization's secrets. That's what he can do now. Back to Emma, who's struggling to assemble the Kamui suit, but fails because she doesn't have enough output. She looks at another suit and realizes it needs an energy reactor like the one inside. The problem is, parts like that are only at the organization's headquarters. Going there is like asking for death, but with no other choice, Emma decides to keep going. We see Huygen hit with a flashback to his past when the ninja organization wiped out his family. He remembers his girlfriend treating his wounds and telling him that people become weak when they're emotional and can't control their feelings. But imagine if your strong will could counter this by becoming elusive and hard to grasp. If you can do that, you'll be unbeatable. That's the ninja girl's philosophy. Be as cool as fire and as hot as ice, all by controlling your mind. Her smile lingers until Hagen wakes up, back to reality. Switching to Yamaji, he's getting a report from one of his spies that only this area hasn't been searched. They've noticed a significant spike in energy use at the water disposal site over the past 2 weeks, suspecting some big device is being used inside. Suddenly, an organization member appears behind Yamaji, telling him they'll go check it out, hoping to find and defeat them. Back to Emma, who's explaining that the upgraded ninja suit is called Kamui. It's a new design chasing the ultimate fighting ability, so it works differently from other ninja suits. This suit won't activate all its powers until it's synchronized with the wearer's mind. So, its function will follow the wearer's imagination at that moment. That's why the reaction time of this suit is faster than other ninja suits. The more focused Huygen imagines how to execute his moves, the faster and stronger they come out. This suit follows Huygen's will and movements directly. But to get it going, a connection process in Huygen's brain needs to be done. Emma says this process will make Huygen sleep soundly and unable to wake up no matter what happens, even if his heart is stabbed. But she tells him to relax because if he dies again, it'll really be his last death. Turns out, Emma was the one who saved Huygen on the night his family was massacred. She used a secret technique to freeze all of Huygen's cells by hitting a specific point, putting his body into a temporary death-like state. But the downside is, that point can't be used again. Huygen got super emotional, woke up, and choked Emma. He asked why she saved him instead of his wife and his child. Emma then used her secret technique again and knocked Huygen out cold. Suddenly, an alarm goes off. Emma checks the CCTV and sees members of the organization on their way to their location. One of the members uses their ability to open the door. When it opens, boom, there's an explosion. We see Emma inside a truck. Out of nowhere, the dwarf ninja drops from the truck's ceiling and says he's going to take Emma down. Emma asks how he found her. The dwarf ninja explains that he searched the whole city, but couldn't find her. He figured Emma couldn't be dead, meaning she must be constantly on the move. Because traffic in this city is controlled by a server, and since Emma disappeared, there's been only one vehicle that keeps moving. Smart idea to hide in a roaming ad truck like a stray dog. No one suspects a thing. Emma glances at her smartwatch and sees only 10% of the operation is synced. The dwarf ninja tells her that Huygen, the ninja, doesn't belong to Emma. Emma dashes to the computer to control the truck, but it crashes and falls over. Emma gets out of the truck in her ninja suit, ready to fight the dwarf ninja. The dwarf ninja says he's been wanting to fight someone in a ninja suit like Emma's to test his strength. They both get ready to fight. Cut to Mike, who's trying to contact Emma. He tells Jason they need to find everyone on that list. Jason is confused about how to track them down because he can't go back to his house thanks to Mike. That means hacking the organization's database is impossible. They need a computer, but Mike's no computer whiz. Emma's the one who knows about that stuff. Suddenly, Mike stops and tells Jason he knows where they can get a free computer. Back to Emma, who's in the middle of a fight with the dwarf ninja. She uses her electronic skills to call in trucks and planes to gang up on the dwarf ninja. Emma scolds the dwarf ninja for daring to come alone without informing the other members of the organization. The dwarf ninja confesses he doesn't care about the organization's rules, he just wants to take Emma down. He claims no other ninja can kill them, which is why he's taken matters into his own hands. The dwarf ninja uses his fire powers to fight Emma. When Emma gets caught in a fire attack, she suddenly disappears. Then, out of nowhere, she reappears. But there are multiple Emmas. The dwarf ninja realizes Emma is controlling his vision and fights back with his massive firepower to burn all the Emma duplicates. Only the real Emma remains, exhausted like someone who just finished a marathon. The dwarf ninja approaches, lifts Emma, and beats her repeatedly. Meanwhile, Huygen is being sedated for surgery. It turns out there's a voice recording of Emma that's been inserted into his subconscious to listen to if Emma dies. In the recording, Emma reveals that it was actually Mari, Huygen's wife, who had saved Emma before. Since then, Emma and Mari have been secretly talking. Even on the night of the massacre, Emma actually came to Huygen's house to save them all. But it was too late for Mari and their son, Kyle. Huygen was the only one she could save. Emma apologizes for not being able to save Marie and Kyle. That's why Emma is so determined to fulfill Marie's wish. Because Marie's dream was to live forever with Huygen. The recording ends, and Huygen's surgery is completed very quickly. Suddenly, the city lights go out, and Huygen steps out of the truck wearing his super advanced ninja suit, Kamui. Those bigwigs got a recording of Huygen in that sweet new suit, and they're watching his every move. Now this little dude? He's totally obsessed with Huygen's new look, wants to fight him for sure. But when he tries to sneak up on him, Huygen grabs his arm, spins like a ninja boss, and kicks him flying into a building. Huygen walks over slow and cool, like he's about to drop the hottest mixtape ever. He pulls out his sword in one smooth move, ready to lay down some justice. But wait, this dwarf has a surprise. He breathes fire like a dragon wannabe. Luckily, Huygen leaps out of the way just in time. Now they're going all out, throwing punches like it's a crazy sale at the mall. The dwarf? He's loving every minute of it, with a huge grin on his face. He shoots these blue missiles at Huygen, but Huygen dodges them like a pro faster than a squirrel hopped up on Red Bull. Emma's words about the suit upgrade come back to Huygen. He focuses, gets in the zone, and dodges every missile like he's playing a ninja dance game. Finally, Huygen has the dwarf cornered. The little dude throws a massive fireball that could roast marshmallows. But guess what? Huygen's suit just laughs at the flames. He cuts right through the fire, stabs the dwarf, and drags him through buildings like he's redecorating. They end up in front of a bus, and Huygen's sword is like, "Hey dwarf, meet your new piercings." Straight through the chest, no takebacks. This dude's toast, blood everywhere. But guess what? He's still grinning like he just won the lottery. He admits Huygen's way too strong, but he's pumped with adrenaline and feeling like a true ninja. He yells, "Screw it!" and blows himself up with a bomb in his suit. But Huygen? Tougher than a $2 steak. He grabs the dwarf in a bear hug like, "Nope, buddy, you're not going out that easy." Huygen totally chops off the dwarf's head and throws it back to the bad guy headquarters like a warning. Dilly, the smart one, sees it clear as day. "You're next, folks." The CEO of this bad guy group? He's obsessed with Huygen's new ninja suit, like a kid who sees the last slice of pizza at a party. So the CEO is thinking, maybe we can talk to Huygen, cool things down? But Dilly's not buying it. Huygen's on a mission to make sure everyone in that group ends up like the dwarf. Meanwhile, the leader of the bad guys, Yamaji, stands up and gets serious. He's basically saying, "Hey team, let's step on the gas with our big plan. We gotta achieve our goals." Over at their secret hideout, Huygen and Emma are chilling, taking off their armor and relaxing. Yep, Emma's still alive and kicking. She tells Huygen that the other leaders in the bad guy group won't be making any moves soon. That crazy powerful armor they're wearing makes them basically invincible. So when Huygen took out one of them, it freaked them all out. They gotta come up with a new plan. In the meantime, another bad guy named Zai is having a meeting with Yamaji. Because of all the chaos, Zai's finally allowed to fight Huygen. Basically, he can do whatever it takes to take Huygen down. And Huygen? He's been staring at Emma like she's the last slice of pie left. Emma's like, "You got something to say?" But Huygen isn't asking about dinner. He wants to know the juicy details about Emma and Mary back when they were both alive. Turns out, Mary was like a guardian angel for Emma. She helped her go from a newbie ninja to the badass she is now. Imagine this. Emma's on a secret mission, about to stab a bad guy, when bam, a knife at her throat. But guess who's holding it? Mary, her mentor on the mission. Back then, Huygen, Zai, and Mary were the top 3 ninjas in the whole organization. Everyone thought one of them would eventually become the leader. Now, during their downtime, Mary asks Emma why she always wears a mask. Emma finally opens up about a terrible accident that messed up her face real bad. Her parents couldn't handle it and left her at the hospital. The bad guy group took her in and offered her a crazy deal: become a new person and live as a ninja. Emma turned into a master of disguise, able to look like anyone she wanted. Curious, Mary asked if Emma would show her real face. Nervous but up for it, Emma said yes, and Mary took off her mask. They became best friends while working together, and Emma learned all about Mary's life, growing up with Zai and Huygen. Mary cared a lot about them, which worried Emma, because feelings and being a ninja don't exactly go together. One night, Mary took Emma out and revealed her secret move, a crazy one. She could make someone look totally dead by putting them in a kind of zombie sleep. Emma felt honored that Mary trusted her enough to share this secret. But why did Mary tell her? Mary just figured it might be useful for Emma to know someday, that's all. Looking back, Emma says those were the best years of her life. But things went downhill when the organization started teaching ninja stuff to outsiders. Emma ended up in a place where they trained regular people to fight like ninjas. People were freaking out. Ninja stuff isn't something you just teach anyone. These outsiders just wanted weapons and how to kill. They didn't care about the ninja code of honor. It's still a mystery why the leader, Yamaji, even allowed this, but it caused a lot of trouble within the organization. The next time they talked, Emma told Mary she was worried about the organization's future if things kept going this way. She hoped Mary would take charge and become the leader. But Mary surprised her with a bombshell. She was pregnant, and she thought she was done for in the organization because she broke the rule of never fall in love. Mary planned to disappear with Huygen, leave the organization, and raise their baby together. Huygen wasn't sure about it at first, since he'd been a ninja his whole life, but Mary convinced him they could face anything together. Then, things got even crazier. The leader, Yamaji, announced they were moving their operations outside of Japan. He warned anyone who disagreed would be called a traitor and punished, no questions asked. But other leaders in the organization had their own problems with the plan. They believed their duty was to protect Japan, so leaving the country was like betraying it. They were determined to challenge Yamaji and stop him from getting away with this. Two hot-headed leaders are itching to fight Yamaji, but the higher-ups sense something weird. Yamaji? He's way too calm for a showdown. So, these bosses try to warn the others to hold off, but it's too late. Fists are flying. Now, here's the crazy part. Yamaji ain't your average dude. He turns into a total Darth Vader, choking people with his mind and levitating them in the air. Then he whips out his sword and cuts those two leaders down like butter. And to add insult to injury, he stomps on the lady's face, even though she's dead. Talk about disrespect. The ninjas are this close to a full-blown rebellion. But Yamaji's not an idiot. He's got a plan B. With swords still pointed at everyone's throats, he lays it down. I'm the real ninja deal. As long as I'm alive, the ninja way lives on. Basically, it's either follow him or get out of Dodge. The real ninjas? They peace out. Screw losing their ninja spirit. They'd rather be rogue ninjas than deal with Yamaji's craziness. Enter Mary, the leader of the rebel ninjas. She's got a secret weapon, technology that can change your face, perfect for the ninjas on the run. But wait. On her way home, Mary realizes she's being followed. Guess who? It's Emma. Emma reveals she's on a secret mission from the dead leader, Yamaji. Her job? Decide if Mary's good enough to lead the organization. If not, well, Emma's gotta take Mary out. Dead leader's orders, right? But Mary's not buying it. Emma insists she has to honor the boss's last wish. She tells Mary to ditch the baby and become a ninja again. That's when Mary goes ballistic. They start fighting, and Emma's way more skilled than Mary thought. Forget the whole motherly Emma thing. They're back to being rivals, blades flashing everywhere. Finally, Emma holds a knife to Mary's throat. Mary's freaking out, thinking it's all over. Emma herself is confused. She wants to be a true ninja, but the organization is a mess. Running away and hiding forever feels like giving up. Stuck between two horrible choices, Emma takes a desperate stab at herself, but Mary's reflexes are quick. She catches the blade, and then she drops this truth bomb. You never truly understand family until you have a baby yourself. Yep, Mary considers Emma family now. She wants Emma to keep on living. After the fight, Mary asks what's next for Emma. Emma decides to stay undercover and spy on the organization. She's learned a lot and even figured out Yamaji's big plan. Meanwhile, the ugly CEO is showcasing the Auza reactor, a powerhouse that cranks out 2.2 million kilowatts of electricity every second. This reactor runs on a new, eco-friendly, and affordable fuel called cuborium. This innovation has slashed energy prices in Auza City by 80% compared to other cities. With the energy department's backing, they could really ramp up power production. The secretary mentioned some pushback from environmental groups about building facilities along the coast, but the CEO announced they've just set up the Auza Reactor Advisory Committee and everyone's on board with their plans. The secretary was puzzled about how they won over the committee. "Money talks," the CEO said. The secretary didn't seem too happy about that, but Yamaji gave them a look that meant business. Meanwhile, Emma's filling Huygen in on part of Yamaji's scheme, letting Auza flex its muscle to take over the entire energy infrastructure and control energy management country by country. Emma, a commander in their organization, feels like they're just Auza's puppets now. Yamaji's lost all pride as a ninja, and that's exactly why Emma's more determined to help Huygen. In another place, Mike and Jason were on edge. Jason couldn't understand why Mike would be foolish enough to mess with the ninjas, the most dangerous threat they've ever faced. Mike insisted there was no time to ponder that now, as their location was unsafe and they could be attacked at any moment. Jason was frustrated and blamed Mike for dragging him into this mess. Mike retorted, asking if Jason thought it would be better to seek revenge alone in his rundown home. Mike explained that this is what happens when they meddle and disrupt other people's affairs. Once involved, they could only move forward. Mike urged Jason to continue their investigation and seek revenge. They would help each other to put an end to Auza. Jason then informed Mike that he needed a computer first. Jason inquired about Emma, a name Mike recognized from before. Meanwhile, Emma was in front of her computer. She activated the suit and emitted a powerful wave from the truck, causing a city-wide blackout. Huygen drove the truck through the traffic jam, bypassing the police officers. The police officers ordered drones to chase Huygen's truck, but the power grid was completely down. The officer in charge of the power flow informed them that the drones couldn't fly because the entire system was down. This made it easy for Huygen and Emma to escape. Huygen then asked Emma about Yamaji's whereabouts. Emma replied that she didn't know, but she was sure Yamaji was planning something. Their actions left Yamaji with no other choice. Emma handed a laptop to Huygen and said they needed to take the next step as soon as possible. They were heading to Yamaji's unfinished power plant to use its power to activate Huygen's Gusoku suit. They would take all the portable energy tanks. Her source indicated that the organization's leader would be there to ensure the suit operated smoothly. Emma also praised Huygen's performance in the last battle against the dwarf man. She told him to recall the feeling he had at that time. The more focused Huygen was, the smoother the Gusoku suit worked, so he had to be able to control his anger. Although this felt difficult for Huygen. On a quiet night, Huygen was seen sitting alone, reflecting on the murder of his wife and son. Meanwhile, inside the truck, Emma talked about how the control of the Gusoku suit in battle depends on Huygen's heart and determination. She then looked at Huygen on the monitor and vowed to herself that she would protect him. Somewhere else, 3 NPC guards were seen facing off against a ninja and getting into a fight. Members of the organization were watching through surveillance monitors. The CEO of Auza informed the defense minister that this is the result when the Gusoku suit is used at maximum power. The defense minister acknowledged the potential threat posed by the ninja. Meanwhile, electronic operations were happening on the suit, and testing began. We see Emma inside the power plant talking to Huygen through a headset, telling him that she has secured the portable energy tanks and is heading his way. Suddenly, a flying ninja appeared and attacked her. Emma tried to escape, but then Huygen showed up in his Gusoku suit to protect Emma. The flying ninja told them that he always wanted to fight a strong opponent like Huygen, and he won't run or hide in the shadows like a rat. He knew what he wanted, and if they defeated him, he would tell them where President Yamaji was. Emma thought it was a trap, but Huygen didn't care. A battle ensued. The flying ninja attacked Huygen and managed to wound him. Emma thought, The enemy must have a plan. How can I change the situation? She looked towards the reactor system and rushed towards it. Emma thought it would work if she could separate his regenerative abilities. As she headed towards the reactor, the flying ninja attacked her at the same time. The flying ninja launched a series of attacks, and Emma tried to dodge them. She jumped over one part of the flying ninja, placed her hand, and used her energy to paralyze it. She jumped again towards the reactor, but another part of the enemy's suit attacked her. Until finally, Emma overcame it by exploding it. Emma fell to the ground. The explosion caused a crack in the ground, and Emma nearly fell through, but Huygen caught her at the last second. Unfortunately, Huygen's suit system was damaged by the explosion. The ugly flying ninja informed them that they would be powerless without an electricity supply. If he called his troops, Huygen and Emma would die. However, he wouldn't do it, and would wait for Huygen to be ready for a fair fight. Inside the truck, while tending to Emma's hand injury, Huygen asked why she was so determined to protect him. Huygen knew that Emma wanted to fulfill Mary's wish, but it seemed like it wasn't what Mary asked for. Emma replied that she had promised herself to finish what she started, no matter the risk. She said it was a decision of her heart after Mary's death, and she didn't expect Huygen to understand. It was her personal mission. Suddenly, an alarm on Emma's watch sounded. She said someone turned on her computer. Emma thought it was from the organization. However, it turned out to be Mike and Jason, who were inside Emma's computer car. Jason was grateful they could leave without any problems thanks to the very helpful FBI ID card. Jason asked how long he could keep using it. Mike replied that being an FBI member wasn't important. Protecting innocent civilians was a more important duty. Jason said that the encryption on Emma's computer was very strong and he couldn't break it. He thought that Emma was not an ordinary person. Suddenly, the car radio turned on, surprising them. Hearing that song, Mike paused for a moment, remembering the past when he sat with Emma at the bar. At that time, Mike told Emma to stop acting alone too often. Mike knew Emma loved her job, but doing it alone was very dangerous. Emma replied that she acted alone because she was professional. Delays and wrong considerations could be fatal. Mike warned Emma because she didn't trust her friends too much. Their voices rose, attracting the attention of those around. Mike asked Emma if she knew how long she had been an investigator. Mike asked Emma to rely on her seniors. In this world, partners are like family. Emma looked at Mike and said they were not family. Mike was just her partner. Mike then left Emma, took the microphone, and started singing off-key. Back to reality, Mike and Jason were scared and got out of the car after hearing the radio. They saw Huygen and Emma. Inside the truck, Mike asked Emma if she had been working with the FBI and pretending to be a ninja. Emma denied it. No FBI agent knew her real identity. She just followed the organization's orders. Mike said, "So, you're a ninja and a spy." Emma admitted her mistake. Mike was angry because Emma's face didn't seem sincerely sorry. Mike was upset because Emma brought him to Jason just to keep him away from the facts. Mike then left and asked for some alone time, but foolishly, he accidentally stepped on a mine that injured his leg. Then, Emma treated Mike's wound inside the truck. She apologized for hiding the truth. Mike pulled out a piece of paper that read, "I love my dad because he protects me from bad people." He told a story that his daughter died in an accident and he couldn't save her. Those words haunted him like an unbroken curse. He felt that the will had to be fulfilled. Everyone must be bound by something, including Emma. Mike joked and repeated the word for Emma to rely on her seniors. Emma smiled and said that Mike's daughter's drawing was good. According to Emma, even though something is considered a curse, there may be a time when it becomes a strength. She asked Mike if he wanted to drink like old times. Mike then smiled. The next morning, Emma explained that Auza was building more and more power plants to control the country's energy infrastructure. The ninjas were the forces they used to achieve this goal. Jason was amazed by the technology they created. According to Mike, this recorded evidence wouldn't be admissible and would be considered fake. Emma stood up and said that they couldn't just stand by and watch. If Auza's plan was left unchecked, this country would be ruined. Meanwhile, at Auza headquarters, someone suggested covering up this incident to keep the public calm. The CEO of Auza assured them not to worry. A small problem like this wouldn't destroy their trust. However, the CEO of Ozza then looked at them with a sus face. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying the series, don't forget to leave a comment and like to support this channel. Love you guys.